Eden Koz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. Eden, Just Be, Spiritual Boom in association with the Grassroots Warriors Network. We are fierce people delivering the truth about our world and this ascension. And that leads me to say hello to our guest today, Dawn DelVecchio. How you doing?
Hi, Eden. I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. All right. Chances are high that today we're gonna talk about Christ consciousness and the rise of the Divine Mother, being a priestess. And I want to discuss with you breatharianism, enslavement, the dream of separation, waking up and exiting the matrix. So let's go. Yet I do want to ask you this one question, Dawn, before I get into other things. If you're a guy and you're listening to the show, why would it be important for you to listen today?
Oh,
because we're going to be talking a lot about women. All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So for our dear brothers who are listening, thank you for being here. This is for you as well. In fact, my husband works with men. He does men's work. And one of the things that's very, very clear is that the divine feminine ray of that which we would call God, the divinity, the balance, needs to come back. So the feminine has been rising and sometimes polarized to the extreme when we see it in the mainstream 3D world. However, that inner marriage of the divine feminine and divine masculine energies, the receptive principle, the active principle, the feeling principle, the thinking principle, all of that stuff, we are rebalancing that as part of our ascension journey within biological women and biological men. And there's a lot of distortion that happens in the field because of that, because of agendas that want to keep us in low frequency, because of when high concept comes into like sort of a lower perception, it gets simplified into sort of polarized thought forms. But divine feminine rising is an awakening of an inner receptivity, an inner nurturing aspect, a permission to feel, not at the expense, however, of those inner masculine qualities of thinking, action, rationale. We're learning how to bring those into harmonious balance or hieroskamos, sacred marriage. So that is the main reason. And then also I would say, if you're a man who has a wife, a daughter, a mom, a sister, all of this is gonna, some of this will be relevant for your understanding of what the women in your life may be, some of the women in your life may be called to at this time.
Great. Thank you so much. Oh, I have questions even talking about that. All right, before we begin, I'm going to talk about this for a while. So episode 188, Dawn, we are on 203, just to give you some and I've been doing this for almost four years coming up in January, doing podcasting, which I look at that continuously. And every week I'm like, do I continue going on? And Spirit says, yeah. So I just keep on going. So 188 really gets into Gold IRA scams. Miles Franklin was on the show. Kevin from Miles Franklin, turns out I was scammed. So for 2 months, he helped me get out of it. I respect these gents. They are doing this because they feel called to write something that is very unbalanced, let's put it that way. So if you feel inclined, if you feel like you've been scammed, which I consider myself a very smart person, and these were really big names who have really big representatives representing them. So yeah, I had a little bit. So feel free to email them at info@milesfranklin.com. Put Eden in the subject line. They will know why you are reaching out. And you do not have to pay for their service. They are doing this because they just it's just time. And I also feel that investing in precious metals are really great. I've done that a lot. They'd be great to invest with as well, if that is your inclination. All right, let's read about Dawn more. So Dawn DelVecchio, MA, Ascension Guide, Priestess, Astrologer, Divine Mother and Channel, and Earth Gaia Devotee. I'm going to read this with some passion, so let me take a breath. For over 40 years, Dawn has walked the priestess path. She is the lineage bearer of the Mother Spirit Priestess line, founder of the Priestess Sanctuary Temple Community, neat, and the return of the Priestess Speaker Series. She serves as a mentor to women called to the sacred feminine. Through retreats, online training, and her Lift as We Rise approach, Dawn guides women to lead with love in these transformational times. And I added this, Dawn, because you sent this to me separately, but I think it's really good. She holds a bachelor's degree in women's studies and a master's degree in shamanic intuitional practices. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. She is an evolutionary astrologer, which I want to talk to you about that. A
Hmm.
priestess mentor training women in the sacred arts of priestess. This includes ceremonial skills and inner shadow work healing. She is the host of a highly successful Return of the Priestess annual summit, as well as the author of Amazon #1 best-selling book for women in business, Spirit, Mind, and Money. This is a question that I start out with always, well, most always first in terms of awakening from 3D to 5D, the matrix, the going into the golden age, when did you first start to discover that specifically? Did that tie into your beginning of being spiritual, or were they separate? How did that come to
Ooh,
be?
that's a great question because I got called to Divine Mother Awakening when I became a mother in 1984.
Okay.
And I think we had inklings then. I could sense there were inklings that there was something different. I could feel that this lifetime had the potential to end some old cycles of
Yeah.
things. We were just learning about that stuff. But I would say I started to be really genuinely more aware of it probably around 2009,
Okay.
uh, 2009, 2010. So before 2012 for sure, but some things came out in 2012 where it became obvious. But I would say 2009, 2010, and I can't even remember how. I could just remember where we were living at the time and kind of what I was tuning into, that I was feeling a bigger call, that there was a bigger mission for me. I wasn't just meant to get a job, and that there was a bigger reason that I had a part to play.
Yeah. So had you been doing this work at that time?
Well, I one time saw a little meme that said like what people think the spiritual journey is, where you're just like rising up, what it really is, and you're doing this and doing that, and that's what my journey has been. So I've done many things. I began in '84, as I said, with a home birth and a women's group that we started studying the tarot and Wicca practices and priestess practices and the sacred feminine and the ancient mother and all of that. And then I moved into the world of the warrior energy. So this is interesting again for our sacred brothers here. I spent 12 years as a Muay Thai kickboxer,
12 years.
running a gym with my now ex-husband, training in the arts of war, and really closing out some cycles, I would say, around the inner masculine energies that were not in service to me. So there was that. And then I went into I was a professional writer. I lived overseas once my son was a young adult. And I've done many, many things, but there's always been a thread. There's
Yeah.
always been a thread of whether it's tarot, meditation, astrology, or simply friends. Like I was the one people would come to with wanting to get some kind of guidance and advice,
Ah,
and not really necessarily recognizing that I was drawing upon intuitive guidance, higher guidance, other multidimensional guidance. I would just open my mouth and things would come out. But it was in Bali in 2016 where I got the very clear, distinct call that I was now Divine Mother was calling me to service to lead as a priestess and mentor younger and older women in the devotional practices of awakening. And that even that evolved and blossomed over these years because so quickly are we changing and being activated in uh, new information in the field. So
Yeah.
it's evolving continually.
All right. So I heard you talk about, so you were a teenager when you were pregnant. Did you just say that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was. Well, I don't know if I said it now or later, but or you
Okay.
did the math, but yeah, I had my son just before I turned 19.
19. All right. Tell me, I heard you talk about these women. Okay, was it Connecticut where you were? Is that
Yeah,
correct? All right. So,
yes.
how in the heck, young to be mother, 19 years old in friggin' Connecticut, that met these women and suddenly it became this really soulful adventure? Did you grow up that way? Did it just happen
Yeah.
by happenstance? What the heck?
No, this is the thing is I came in with what I would call now from an evolutionary astrologer's perspective, an old soul ready to move into the spirituated state.
Hmm.
So when I was pregnant, I knew I was going to have a home birth. In Connecticut at the time in 1984 was illegal, meaning it wasn't legal or illegal because almost nobody ever did it. But I was determined, and I literally would like look for nurse midwives in hospitals and call them up, like in phone books, yellow pages, right? And hey, do you know anyone who does home births? Well, there was a couple of midwives, and they were hesitant to take me because I was only 18 and single, and I was living at my parents' house,
Yeah.
and my parents are very mainstream people. I mean, this was like, you're going to do what?
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
they were on board just because that's what you wanted to do, but they were still like, all
Yeah, well,
right.
yeah, because I have a very strong will. Again, it's like my who I came in as the disruptor in my family lineage and everything. But anyway, I found these midwives, and the first time I met with them, I actually had a list of questions because I had been reading books about home birth
Hmm.
and the mindset and all of that. And so they were really surprised. They told me later they're like, we'll meet with this 18-year-old, but that's too risky for us.
Yeah.
I mean, their necks were out on the line at that time, being illegal and everything. So anyway, they were serving a number of women in the greater New Haven, Connecticut community, and Hartford as well. And they started a home birth support group because, again, it was illegal, right? So in that, I started going to those because I had no real connections with people. I was living with my parents, and I needed to be immersed in something that would support my desires, intentions, and plans for birthing my child.
Mhm.
And that led to a mother's support group where we thought we were going to talk about, diaper rash and weaning and breastfeeding and like those kinds of things. Well, that lasted a couple of months. And then someone
Whoa.
brought in the Mother Peace Tarot and someone brought in, some spiritual books. And it just opened for us. Divine Mother was calling us to awaken.
No. Okay. So, like your soul family, did you have a relationship to the father of the child?
Well, I initially did, but he
Yeah.
was never in the picture. So yeah, so I was a single mom, and I was the youngest one in that group
Wow.
by a bit of a long shot, actually.
Wow. Okay. So, someone brought something in and everybody was like, yes. And then someone else brought another component in and everybody was like, yes. And it just grew. It just, wow.
Yeah. We started doing ceremony, and
Oh my
fast
gosh.
forward a couple of years, we were doing. I was facilitating public ceremony, and we had initiated as a circle of priestesses, and that's the Mother Spirit line. So the Mother Spirit Priestess line, I'm the lineage bearer of that. We initiated ourselves as priestesses, and we called ourselves Mother Spirit. We were all mamas. And many, many years later, when my ministry started to take off, I asked permission from the four women who were remaining because one had passed.
Mm.
Um, it for may I carry this lineage forward because I was the only one doing priestess work. They're all doing priestess ministry work in some way, whether it's nursing or there's
Mm.
so many ways one can be a priestess, but not in the sense of like I'm going to mentor women on how to embody divine feminine energies and be a conduit in sacred service. And so they all gave me their blessing. They each and all gave me their blessing, and then was uh, continued or reawakened the Mother Spirit Priestess line.
Wow. That is so cool. And considering you also came from conservative parents, that this was just a perfect fit for you. I love that. All right. I want to take the stage just a little bit because I found out about breatharianism a month ago, and it has rocked my world in such a great way. And I heard you mention it on a show, and I'd never heard about it before. And suddenly, so I'm doing a retreat in Spain in January, February, in March because it just spoke to me. It just spoke. So for those of you who don't know, there are four levels. From what I understand, level four is the highest, and you can count these number of people on two hands. They do not eat or drink anything at all. They do not go to the bathroom. Then there's the level three, which I'm hoping to attain, where you just, I think some people eat a couple times a week. Like it can really vary. So this goes beyond biology. It is about the energy in your cells, breathing prana. And when I found out, Dawn, that basically, because we've all been down so many rabbit holes and like, oh my gosh, this isn't true, or this person isn't what I thought they were going to be. I had no idea that I was going to go into food and water. Like that was one of those. It just holy smokes. And I feel so aligned with it. Like immediately when I heard it, I'm like, I've got to research and figure out more of this. So what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised to hear you say you heard me say it because I don't really know much about it. I may have
Wow.
mentioned it. I
Yeah.
may have mentioned it. I certainly have done fasting before, which is
Yes.
so good for resetting the body, and in fact have been feeling called to focus on another, some kind of maybe water and maybe just some mild vegetable juices or herbal infused, for the minerals and micronutrients. But in terms of breatharianism, I mean, I've heard about it. I honestly don't have that much to say. I feel like the one thing I would speak into here is that I really felt your like when you got connected with it. And that speaks more to, I would say, what I do and share and encourage in women and men. We are being called to surprising things sometimes. Many
Mhm.
of us have had a pivot in our lives and our work in this last year, and there's going to be an acceleration of that in the next couple of years. So you may find a sudden shift in career, a sudden passion and interest that you had for long years is like, I'm done, but I'm passionate about this. And that's it's like we're on new reassignments or new
Yeah.
energetic fields we're holding. So, if it's really exciting you and fired up your interest, then that's the place to go, right? To lean into, to discover more and explore.
Yeah, it is just like you said, it was a calling. When I heard of it and started learning more, I'm like, oh my gosh, again, this is one of those things that there's so much in this world that we've been led to believe, which is not true. And again, you think food and water is just, I mean, that's just, yeah, of course you eat, of course you drink. So even just that concept to me is just mind blowing. So thank you for sharing that. All right, I want to ask you this, Dawn. So there are, in terms of evolutionary astrologer, that there are many, I believe, spiritual concepts now that we've had for thousands of years, let's say, and they're older energy. One I believe is the Akashic records. I think that's going to need to change and be flexible. And I just had guests on the show who are astrologers, and they also say that Western astrology really could use some newness to it. And I saw a podcast with you talking about the number 13, which they also express that number is actually very sacred and divine. So tell me what an evolutionary astrologer is, and do you agree with what I just stated, or what are your thoughts?
Thank you. Yeah, an evolutionary astrologer. So, evolutionary astrology is a Western type of astrology. It's a paradigm that came through a man named Jeffrey Wolf Green back in, I think, the late 60s, early 70s, maybe.
Okay.
And there have been a number of, Stephen Forrest is another well-known evolutionary astrologer who's taught many under him, if you will, students. And I'm kind of third generation, or what do we? first generation, well, the ones who started the first generation, second generation. So I've studied with people who've studied with Jeffrey Wolf Green. Let's say that.
All right.
And so evolutionary astrology, what we are doing is we are focusing on the soul's evolutionary journey through incarnation. So it's based on some fundamental principles like you live many, many lives. Your consciousness evolves over the journey of lifetimes. And even if lifetimes are essentially, time is a construct here in
Yeah.
this realm. So we can think of past lives, quote unquote, they're all happening together.
Mhm.
But this incarnation, whatever this incarnation is for you, has been constructed by you and for you in order for you to work out uh, karmic knots, evolutionary patterns, and to push the needle on your own soul's growth.
Yeah.
And so, from a practical standpoint, when I look at a birth chart, I don't go right to the sun, the moon, Venus, all that stuff comes in. The first thing I look at is Pluto, where Pluto is by house. Sign is relevant, but sign is generational, multi-generational, because Pluto moves so slowly. So I look at it by house, by aspects, and then by sign. And then we look at the nodes of the moon for the soul's trajectory. And then we look at all the aspects that come in and the other outer planets. So basically, a lot of us, Western astrologers, and I can't speak to Vedic astrology. I don't know much about it at all. But if you think about a wheel of Western astrology, or the solar system, we look from the sun out. Evolutionary astrologers go from the outer planets in,
Okay.
if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so we look at different soul signatures like Uranus as a signature of past life trauma or other incarnational trauma. The North Node is the trajectory of where we want to evolve to. Pluto's polarity point is also where we want to go to, where, aspects, transits of the outer planets and how they are pressing upon us to evolve. So when you're undergoing an outer planetary transit, let's say a Pluto square your sun, Pluto moves slowly. That's going to last 2, 3 years. And that's going to slowly, one term I've heard, grind inexorably, slowly polishing the stone and refining any of the inner planets that get aspected through your life. So does that answer enough about what an evolutionary astrologer is?
Yes, it does. Do you feel, because my guess where we talked about spiritual practices, a lot of them needing to be upgraded, do you feel that this practice is flexible? Do you feel like it grows with where humanity and the light is growing right now?
Let me just tune in there.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I've never really thought about this before, but there have been intimations like kind of out here on the periphery of my consciousness
Yeah.
that as we evolve as a human species, we can, in a sense, outgrow astrology. Not just our own astrology chart. That's a concept that's been in the field, as long as I've been an astrologer, which is many years. But also that the symbolism of our conscious psyche structure may change because we are changed beings, more awakened beings. How that may look, I'm not really sure. But
Right.
evolutionary astrology, to me, is a paradigm when you think about when it came through. It came
Hmm.
through right around the whole kind of hippie
Hmm.
awakening, pre-awakening stuff. It's a paradigm to serve our conscious awakening. So that's when I work with, I don't look, when I work with clients, I'm more focused on what is happening in your birth chart. What is your soul imprint? What's the map of your soul saying you came here to work on, to be challenged by, to evolve with the tools that you naturally have to leverage in order to get through and upgrade your consciousness at a soul level. So at some point, if we are, project a few hundred years into the future and the human species is a more conscious,
Hmm.
less dense being, it would make sense that some of the principles of evolutionary astrology or any other
Yeah.
might be too dense.
Hmm. Fun, so fun to think about. And I am going to ask you this question, Dawn, because our show will be published on December 17th, which apparently Three Eye Atlas will come closest to the Earth on December 19th, if that
Yay.
stays the same. So, yeah, I wanted to ask your thoughts about Threa Atlas, I will go ahead and state I feel like when I connect, I feel so I start to laugh. It feels so good. And knowing there are so many different views. What is your view by chance?
Yeah, I mean, admitting that I haven't focused a whole lot on this, what it feels to me, and I've done a little bit of research and this, that, and the other. What it feels to me is like so many other things right now, whether that's the solar activations,
Mhm.
the amount of the plasmic light we're moving through this thing they call the photon belt, which are plasma field that are waking us up. This is like a divine delivery system of a frequency upgrade.
Yep.
That's what it feels like. It's not, the aliens aren't about to land or anything like that. That's, of course, I don't really buy into the fear, agenda stuff that creates distraction. But it's a frequency upgrade invitation for those who would like it.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'd sure like it.
Yeah,
Any
I'm up for it.
Oh my gosh. Any upgrades, and knowing that we are being, for those of us who are really conscious of that, there's so much coming through. But yeah, it's not that I can't get enough, but I guess in a way I can't. All right, let's talk about for a second the consciousness and the rise of the Divine Mother. Talk about that.
Yeah. Just going to connect in here. So we could think of Christ consciousness also as what you would call unity consciousness. So
Mhm.
sometimes people, if they hear Christ and they have like Catholic trauma or Christian trauma or
Yeah.
religious trauma, that can be, off-putting. But again, like so many things in the deep density of 3D, concepts, language, structures have been, and even compassion, have been weaponized to keep us in low frequency. So we want to just kind of shake that off and put it aside and really think about. So if you look at the screen I put behind me today, and I just wanted the screen behind me, but now I know why. Because you can see this flow of light flowing in, this golden, crystalline, beautiful light that is luminous and flowing. This is like the flow of Christ's light. There's a meditation that I lead my community through and teach on that is an opening of the heart stargate to allow Christ light to flow through and into the field and to bathe ourselves in light, all the layers of our body from the physical form all the way out to the etheric. So the Christ consciousness is the flowing in of unity consciousness, the remembrance of love's presence, the remembrance of our divinity, the remembrance of our oneness beyond form, and the remembrance of some of the principles that, despite all the shenanigans and finagling of the teachings of one man who became Christed, known as Jesus or Yeshua, a few of the key messages still came through, like that which you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. Why? Because we're all one. That is Christ consciousness. Now, how does that tie in with the Divine Mother? This is a great question. And again, I want to just go in for a moment to allow that to flow out.
And Dawn, while you're going in, for those who are listening and not watching, Dawn has this beautiful, I don't even know how you would describe it. Again, it's this beautiful, it's brown, a brown and yellow tones, and it looks like sacred geometry or a flower opening up, and then just this bolt of golden white light coming through it. It is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a mandala. There's a
Mandala, thank you.
mandala and then the wave of flowing golden light, golden white light. So the Divine Mother Ray is the flow of the heart. It's the flow of the opening heart, divine compassion. A mother loves all her children. So we think of Divine Mother in archetypal sense. A mother loves all of her children. She says, "Come, come, come, let me hold you, let me care for you. Fear not, my child." This is the divine encompassing love. All my children are loved. All my children are one in my heart. So we can feel that divine mother ray of the Christ field is coming in strong because we need, as a human species, to awaken to our divine hearts. We need to recognize all of our sisters and brothers as one and to love and embrace all. Now, in the world we are living, where there
Yeah.
is great divisiveness, violence, and fear, that does not mean that we do not set boundaries. I am not talking about dysfunctional spiritual bypassing. Everything is love and light. At the highest level, everything is love and light. It's
Mhm.
true. But we are in this realm and we are awakening to love's presence and we are relinquishing all that is not of love. And we are interfacing in a very dense world. Those of us who are awakening first, we are the light bearers to hold the field for our sisters and brothers. We do sometimes have to have boundaries because there is
Oh, yeah.
a great deal of distortion. And the more, here's the thing, the more light comes through, those who are bound and determined to hold on to their fear, their distortion, their hatred, their attack, their separation, consciousness become more and more distorted.
Mhm.
And that's what we're walking through right now is the unraveling, the dismantling, the dissolving, quite dramatically sometimes, of the unloving systems in this world because of this light flow coming through.
Mhm.
It's just like if you have not dusted underneath your bed for a long time and you take the flashlight, what are you going to see? You're going to see a lot of dust bunnies. You're going
Mhm.
to be like, oh, maybe there's some gross things and dead bugs and spider carcasses and whatnot, you know. So this is where we're at right now. So the Divine Mother says, I pour forth love from my heart to all of life. But Divine Mother will not let her children in the sandbox throw sand in each other's eyes. She will pick
Mhm.
that child up or scream and have a conniption fit and flail and throw things around in a store. Divine Mother picks up her child and says, we're going to go outside now because that's not how we behave.
Mhm.
So that's coming through. And those of us who are really on the leading edge at this time, and there are those we could say way ahead of me. I'm not saying I'm like, whoa, on the leading edge. Any of us who would listen to this are on the leading edge relative to the human condition right now.
Mhm.
We are here to awaken that Christ consciousness and that divine mother heart within so that we are able to hold steady in these next years to come because it's been intense, it's gonna get more intense. There's going to be things in our field that we have to navigate. Do we do it from love or do we do it from fear?
Okay, go into that for a moment. Because there are so many of my clients are also like, it can't get more than this. I'm like, just buckle up. The more sturdy you get, you're going to be able to handle more, but there is going to be more. From
Yeah.
your impression, what does that look like? If that,
Mm.
let me just throw out that general question and see what you think of that.
Yeah. Again, sort of just tuning in here for a
Okay.
moment. So, um, depending on each individual soul's
Yes.
agreements, we will be navigating and moving through both personal and collective stuff. So, uh,
Nice way to put that.
yeah. So for me, like I'll talk about myself and others I know, I have some very personal stuff that can be tracked through the astral. I'm having a big Pluto transit in the next 2 years. So I'm being overhauled and being called to deepen my forgiveness practice, to release
Oh,
even more of the fear places that I hold. But at the collective or social level, I live in the forest with my husband. I have a very peaceful, easeful marriage. I am not navigating things like mass invasion of a community that will not integrate into my society. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about the safety of a daughter walking to school alone, like some of our sisters and brothers in the UK, for example.
hmm.
I don't have that. It's not in my lane.
Yeah.
That's not in my lane. I don't live on a fault line. That's not particularly in my lane.
Okay.
I don't have a job with that I've been unemployed. That's not in my lane. So it's more personal for me. Some people will be dealing with both because the unloving systems have to go. So here's a way that I did interface, let's say, with that. So
Yeah.
I always do, I work with my naturopath and I have blood work now and again, and I wasn't able to go to the normal place. And I went to a local hospital.
Ooh.
The cost was 10 times what
Uh-huh.
I know blood work costs because I
Uh-huh.
do it every year.
Uh-huh.
10 times. So that was, again, I had to kind of publicly interface with an unloving system that is
Yes.
absolutely corrupted,
Hmm.
absolutely full of baloney, and make a stink and be a squeaky wheel for almost 6 months before I could get it down to what is the actual cost of those,
Uh-huh.
so that kind of, so yes, we'll all have those unloving systems, whatever they are, the bigs, big pharma, big gov, big ag, big, big, biggity, big, big. all of that stuff is unloving to the core. The food has become poison. So that's another
Mhm.
way we're all interfacing, right? And dealing with
Yes.
like, I want to buy organic and it's more expensive and all of that. So we're going to be navigating that and we're going to be faced with choices. Uh, Here's another one. I travel. I live overseas usually in the winters.
Yeah.
And facial recognition and stick 'em up machines.
Oh my God. Yes. Please,
Yeah.
please talk about that.
Yeah, those you as an American citizen, at least in the United States, you are not required to do those, and everybody just cooperates. They just
Oh, I
go through,
say, I say
I call them
no.
stick 'em up machines because you stand there. What is that? What does that look
I
like
don't
to you?
go through that
This is
either.
conditioning program.
Hmm.
Conditioning program. We never go through those. We opt out. It's
Yep.
our right as citizens to do that. And I would think if you check in your countries, wherever you're from, and see, depends on your country, right? And then now they have that you go up to show your passport or your ID of, you to the person, they say, look in the camera. They just command you.
Mhm.
And you just say, opt out. Or if you enter back in the country, like I entered into the country, I was in Bali last year for a retreat, and I came back in, and you go up to immigration, and there's a guy with his like flak jacket on and his guns and his everything. He
So
looks really tough.
serious. Yes.
It's very serious, and he says, "Look in the camera," and I just smiled and said, "Opt out," and he goes, "Oh, opt out." And he had to, he had to do it the way it's not necessary to do the other stuff. So we're going to see, I think we're going to see more and more intent. Like when I
Mhm.
look to the countries in Southeast Asia where I spend time,
Yeah.
the forced facial, the biometrics for digital banking. So there's going to be more places where we're going to have to choose from sovereignty, from a place of sovereignty, and really, really think about what we're saying yes to. It's no joke and it's not fun. But I think, in the next 2 years, as the energies increase, what's happening is more and more energy is going toward the new earth, the birth of new earth. And that, that's another metaphor I use is that we are midwifing new earth, right? We are supporting this
It's a
birth.
painful birth.
Yeah,
And not,
right?
but yet
Yeah,
it
it's
is, but not.
kind of
Yeah, both.
messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's messiness here. And so we are birthing New Earth or midwifing Gaia's birth of New Earth and going along with her for the ride. And so we really want to be thinking in these next 2 years, this will pass. The old systems and all those who have benefited, all those who've benefited from being, in the hierarchical systems, that small percentage at the top, the puppeteers behind the public faces,
Yeah.
they aren't going to stop just because they're like, oh, well, it's Ascension. Let's just give it up. No, of course they're not.
Mhm.
They're going to keep going. They're going to throw everything at us. The divisiveness, the frequency lowering things from actual, like energy weapons and chemtrails and all that stuff to just looking in your news feed. Like I love to watch astrology, metaphysical things, high spiritual things on YouTube. And I can find sometimes I'll be scrolling, I'm like, I feel like looking on something on Tibetan Buddhism right now. And
Okay.
you know, and just I can see the headlines, they're getting more and more histrionic and negative, and we have to be heartful and mindful now because it's going to increase for a couple of years as the energy gets less and less feeding those extreme forces. They're relying on our energy. Our energy. Wring our hands, be afraid. Oh my
Right.
God. And it's really our sovereignty, our discipline with our energy on all levels, from that public to the personal, navigating our personal stressors, our personal places of healing, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and the places where we interface in the public sphere where they're starting to think they could demand things of us that honestly they can't most of the time. And being aware of what that is and making those choices consciously will be more and more what we're called to.
And very important. I want to go back to the just going to, because I'm like you, Dawn. I live in a place because I do my business out of my home. I don't interface with a lot of the public because I right now choose not to do that very much. And I'm very picky. Is that the word I want to use? Very discerning about my friends
Discerning.
and who I hang out
Yeah.
with. But there are, because you are a human being right now, you cannot just go into a cave. You cannot sit on your high mountain, and you have to, again, be that warrior spirit mama or male where, and it is when you go to the airport. I don't know about you, like facial recognition, that's easy to opt out of. But when you want to be, instead of going through that, the machine where you put your arms up and
Stick 'em
you,
up machine, I
yeah,
call
when
it.
you opt out for that, usually they are not very happy
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
So you have to be, I don't know about you. I, in the past couple of years, I've talked about this before, have become so strong. And I love this. And I think this is all a part of it. What I will do and what I won't do.
Yeah.
And I use my voice, my mouth, real ID. I got one, not realizing everything. I just went back and got a regular driver's license, which I
Yay.
know that's still,
Good for you.
yeah, thank you so much because I happen to have a passport, so it doesn't really
Yeah, me
concern
too.
me. But I didn't realize all the tracking and so
Yeah.
I love what you said. Just so to put out to the audience that it is about standing up, it is about being sovereign, it is about using your voice. But again, this parallel with love, it's not all about oh, I'm just going to be passive and all loving, and this can
Right.
happen. It is that priestess that you were talking about. It is standing up. It is about being that mama, that mama who will not. Okay, and in that, Mother Earth, I also feel like she's not going to take some things anymore. That she's going to start standing up. What is your standpoint on that?
Well, there's a couple things so I want to address also this piece about just being spiritual bypass and love and light, and then just to answer in kind of in reverse order, Gaia.
Yes.
I just feel like Gaia is ascending, and some of us are gatekeepers and grid workers, and we're facilitating her energy and being able to release energetics. But we already see there's more activation in her fields, more uh, earthquakes and volcanic activity. I also, I feel in terms of her not allowing certain things, I haven't tuned into that as much as the connection with maybe the galactics or others who would be impacted by things like nuclear war. I never fear that.
Mhm.
Because no one's going to allow that. That's fear porn. If they put, oh, we're getting close to nuclear. No, it's absolutely galactically not allowed. This is literally like we're going to take the babies out of the sandbox because they're throwing sand in each other's eyes now. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
So, Gaia can shake us off at any point, literally. She can, but I don't believe that that's the case. Our now, will there be disasters more? There's always been, and there will be more. There's more shifts. We have to trust that each soul makes their choice and their plan for what their journey, their entrance and exit journey will be.
Hmm. Well, and it's what do you
So,
think about
yeah.
the harp and all that who creating these disasters, which
Oh,
some
yeah.
are natural, some are not natural.
Yeah.
How will we know? I guess that's going into the heart and love again, but it's we're at such a time right now where what's real, what's not real,
Yeah.
and
Well,
having that
this is where,
discernment.
yeah, well, this is also where I think there has to be a withdrawal of our attention from the whole nonsense.
Yeah.
Will we know? I mean, we can suspect, we can figure it out. And I think there was a point for many of us where we wanted to do the deep dive research. Once you know the basics,
Yeah.
there's shenanigans of what we would consider evil. If you spell evil backwards, you have live, right?
Hmm.
It's inversion. Do we need to keep looking? Do we need to keep analyzing it? And this is a good segue now
Yeah.
into what I wanted to address about the sort of spiritual bypass being all love and light and passive. Because the other side of that coin is being a constant social activist for things that are not in our lane. And this is very important. It doesn't, yes, there's injustice in this world. Yes, there's imbalance. That's the whole point. It's all being shown to us writ large, all at once, glowing and shining and, grabbing our attention. However, if it's not in our lane, why are we doing that? Unless we feel a deep call. Sometimes people feel a deep call. We are here, the light leaders, the light bearers, priestesses, star seeds, light workers, sacred brothers, medicine women, medicine men, to hold the light.
Mhm.
Now, if you have a child in public school who's being taught ridiculous things that they should not be being taught, it's in your lane. It's in your lane. You got to do
Yeah.
something about it. Maybe your choice is like, I don't have the wiring and the design to be a warrior. I'm just going to homeschool my child. I'm going to find others who are homeschooling and just withdraw, because the best thing we can do is withdraw our energy from those crazy, unloving systems. But if it's something that's happening over there in some other part of the world, and the only reason you know about it is because you're doom scrolling, you're off base. You got to come back into center. So withdrawing is not sticking our head in the sand.
Yeah.
Withdrawing is the recognition. I've done my research. I know
Mhm.
what's going on. We are in an ascension cycle. The unloving systems are going to collapse, and they will just hold on longer if I keep feeding them by wringing my hands, hating on them, attacking, and announcing to the world with every other video how bad it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to devote myself, I'm going to do something what I call root to rise. I'm going to root down into Gaia. I'm going to rise up my consciousness, and I'm going to open my heart and let that love flow, like let Divine Mother flow through me and the Christ light flow through me into the field in service to accelerating the awakening, and not exacerbating the deconstruction of the unloving.
How do you feel you're doing with that, Dawn?
How am I? Well, I'm human,
Yeah.
so I have my ups and downs. I had a big, intense year this year. I had
Yeah.
challenges at the physical level, health-wise. I have had challenges at my business level because I've been called for a while to do a 90-degree turn, and a giant ship needs to slow down a lot in order to turn. Well, this was the come to a standstill year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then old family emotional process stuff. I'm not someone who hides my stuff. I was adopted, and I have loving parents. But one thing that I was adopted in 1965, when that was almost the height. 67 in the United States and the UK was the peak of adoption. So
Really?
now we have all these studies of adoptee, what's called the primal wound, or the trauma
Yeah.
of the adoptee. It's the relinquishment trauma. If you had bad adoptive parents, it's even worse. I did not. I had loving parents. And so I've been diving deep, psychospiritually with some beautiful modalities to
Oh,
help with that. So it's been an intense year of clearing for me personally. I'm grateful I haven't had to navigate the outer world that much besides stick 'em
right.
up machines and overpriced hospital bills. But I've fallen down. I like to think of that song. I don't know if you've ever heard that band Chumbawamba. I think they're from Ireland. I
Yeah,
get
that
knocked
sounds
down.
familiar. It's been a while.
I
Get
get
down,
knocked
down.
down and I get up again.
Yeah.
This has been a theme song for my year this year.
Oh man. And
Yeah, but I'm now coming out.
well, thank you so much for sharing that too, because it is also important for me to let people know that people who are doing this spiritual work, who are in this, again, we're not impervious to all of
Oh,
this, because for me also it's about these past couple years specifically clearing out parallel lives and it's like everything, every nook and cranny for all of us, and especially those of us who are doing this light work, it has to come out. So sometimes
yeah, we
unexpected. What were you going to say?
right. Oh, well, in order to hold more light, we have to clear out the
Yeah,
density.
there you
Again, we
go.
have to
Great description.
sweep away the dust bunnies, whatever you want to say, in order to be conduits
Ugh.
for that light to flow through. We cannot have a bunch of gunk stuck on hitchhikers, old wounds, resentments, and stuff. So all of us, no matter, I mean, unless you're really talking to and with someone, and there are some uh, teachers on the planet who are they're very liberated
Mhm.
from egoic constructs, but there's only a few of them really who are public. I think there are many who are holding the field, and you would never know them. They're
Awesome.
just there to hold the field. So
Yeah.
those of us who are, wanting to, we're called, our ministry is to serve others. We may just be, if you think of like a ladder, we're just one step, one rung up. We're still doing the stuff. We've just been given or cultivated the gifts over
Yeah.
other incarnations of communication, sacred practices, whatever. We're not better, worse than, I mean, I always teach in circle anyway. We're all going through it. We're all going through it. Some of us have a lot of tools, and maybe certain things we can move through more quickly with more grace and ease. And then we get to share that with others because we've cleared it.
Man, I would say we've cleared a lot. I want to ask you one question and then we can go into the Just Be practice. And I also want to make sure when we're done with the practice that you have a class coming up. I want to really hit on that. Okay, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you this, Dawn. I want to get your opinion. I put out there a while back because I'm in a 5D relationship right now. So was married for 25 years, was alone specifically by myself for 5 years because I really wanted to love myself and heal.
Yeah.
So I put it out there. I didn't get any takers, but two clients that were here. But I put it out on my podcast, like, internationally, whatever. No one signed up. And I I am curious. I know I have much more to learn in this because there's so much that I would like to share because it really, for me, did it a totally different way, like coming straight from the heart, looking outside of what you see physically, or really going and the wounds of the masculine, being open to not fixing them because I know it's not my role to fix them, yet to be this place of care and love and just I mean, this has been beautiful work, and it's been work, and I feel called to do it as well because I know I'm on this planet to also heal things. Yeah, do you think that people aren't ready for that yet, or maybe I wasn't doing, and you please say whatever you wish. It was just really interesting for me. What would you
So
say?
what tell me a little bit, like, so this was an offer for women and men, for couples, what for
Yeah, mostly for single people, but I could do married
single
folks as
people?
well. But
Hmm.
just those who are ready to go into a divine relationship, to get past all of
Mm.
this, well, you're supposed to be married and princesses and all that stuff,
Oh, right,
and
right.
true
Yeah,
communication and really connecting heart wise versus
right.
out
Yeah,
interiorly.
yeah.
So yeah, it was one of those things. I felt I was ready for it. I don't know if it's not time. Yeah, I'm just curious
Yeah.
of your
It's a
thoughts.
good question. It's a really good question. I'm just gonna tune in and see,
And thank you.
yeah, what's here. People are wanting this. People are definitely wanting this, and I would say women more than men because men are still doing some, not all, but many are still doing kind of preliminary work, if you will. They're just accessing their feelings and their ability to recognize how much they've been holding down and back and suppressing. However, there are those who are interested, and what's very clear, for someone else who has a sacred business
Yeah,
online, it's a noisy place. It's a noisy place right now. There's so much
great point.
distraction and so much stress that this is where, I talked at the beginning about the Hieros Gamos and the divine masculine feminine.
Yeah,
Strategy is a thing. I mean, we have to have a strategic plan
mhm,
in order to reach those whom we want to serve. So if we go about it in the pure divine heart way, well, that's important to get go for the get-go. But if you don't already have at this point in time kind of a tribe that's already following you, a platform, if you will, you're going to have to make strategic decisions about how to get in front of them because it is a hugely noisy marketplace. People are distracted and they're stressed out, and doing the actual investment in the business development aspect of how do I actually, what is the language? How do I reach them? Where are they showing up? All of that's kind of marketing stuff can only benefit. But the thing is, the thing that's different now is, new creation energies. Old creation energies is what's an absent thing in the marketplace? Ah, that. I can make a lot of money on that. Let me think, get an idea of what it is. I'm going to blast out all the marketing. I'm going to invest in it, and boom, I'm going to push it out there in front of everybody.
yeah,
Old energies. New energy is
right.
I'm divinely called. It opens in my heart.
Mhm.
I feel it. I know I'm here to be in service of it. And we are in that transition time right now. We're in a transition time. People are worried about money. They're stressed out about things because a lot of people have not made the transition. They're still looking at the fear porn,
Hmm.
right? So they're like, yeah, I want a love relationship, but shit, I might lose my job.
Yeah.
So how do we reach that? We have to unify the inner feminine, the creation aspect that we've birthed, that we're nurturing, that we love, that we know is in sacred service because we've been called to it, and say, now, if I don't already have a platform to expose or a strategy for or a plan for how to keep sharing this and echoing it out and out and out, let me develop that. That's more of the masculine energy.
Hmm.
And then we come into a kind of balance for it. Does that make sense?
It does. And I was sitting here for a moment. Thank you so much for talking to me personally about that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to include this in the show or not. Yet I think just for other spiritual people that are birthing classes, um, yeah, just like I felt like I went through this in the heart. It felt so good to put it out there and not being disappointed that it didn't happen, just knowing that it prepared me more. It helped me use my voice more. And who knows what's going to happen with the relationship? Maybe there's something pivotal that's going to happen to me in the next couple months that is really big in terms of this class. So,
That was the other thing, is sacred timing
yeah,
as
oh
well.
gosh,
And
right.
also iteration. So, what you're doing now might actually land more as a retreat
Hmm.
or just a different iteration, a weekend workshop online intensive versus a 6-week course or whatever,
Yeah,
just but you're right also about the timing. Sometimes we feel and think we are ready for something, and there has to be a couple other information, guidance, awakening pieces that come
yeah.
in before we actually are.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just I've gotten better over the years too at just trusting versus being disappointed or why did I do this and it didn't come to fruition, yet just trusting on some level I was still supposed to talk about it. So thank you, Dawn, so much for
Yeah.
that. All right.
Good.
Do you feel okay going into the practice that you're going to give everybody today?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't have anything specifically planned because these things I usually do in a kind of
Yes.
channeled way.
Ideal. Wonderful.
So just give me the guidelines. What do we have? How many minutes approximately? And
I would say, again, 5 to 10 minutes of just
okay.
anything that will help ascend our listeners, give them more information, make them feel good, expand their energy, whatever within that line you feel
Okay.
called to do.
All
Just
right.
be
So to me,
practice.
the most valuable thing we can do at this time, and there's many things, but the single most valuable thing we can do is awaken our sacred hearts. So I'm going to guide us into a short practice to begin to connect in with the heart. Now, I want to preamble that by saying I'm not talking about your heart muscle and I'm not talking about your heart chakra. I'm talking about the inner sanctum of your being, the part of you that connects with the divinity. So if you think about like your personality, your words, your physical form, your body mind vehicle, let's say, would just be a piece of dead meat if it weren't for your divine spirit that animates it. And so the heart, the divine heart, which is approximately at the high heart and in there in the middle, just to give it a geographic location for you to focalize on, is the access point of your divinity. It is the access point to open the heart stargate where all that light pours through that you see from in the screen behind me for those of you who are watching. So we're just going to go in and connect in there, and I'm just going to ask my guides to facilitate this. I get out of the way, and so I get the meditation too.
Heck, yeah. And can I, for those who can't see,
Yeah.
again, the high heart is below
Oh,
the throat chakra and above the heart chakra, kind of in the middle.
yeah, it's just a little bit above. It's really part of the heart. You just think about the highest part, but it's
Okay.
below the throat and in yeah, the that bone in the chest there up above the breasts and
Okay.
stuff. Yeah,
Got it.
right around
Thank
there.
you.
Feel it, you just go in and feel it. So that's what we're going to do now. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a moment to make some micro adjustments to the body so that you can sit comfortably without feeling fidgety. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment to focalize first on the energy in what is the brain area where your thoughts are, and just notice the energy there. We've had a lot of words have flowed through, but also a lot of frequency and energy transmission. So just notice what's there. And then take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, begin to allow your energy to drop down from the head down into the heart. Again, that area, the high heart area in the center of the chest. And hold on the empty on the exhale. Next breath, breathing into the heart, as if you're literally pulling in light from all directions into the heart center. And as you exhale, allow that light to circulate all around your body. Holding on the empty. Another breath in, bringing light in, pulling light into the heart center. Exhaling and allowing that light to circulate to all areas of your physical form. Holding on the empty. And now breathing at a pace that works for you, but allowing yourself to pause on the empty. You'll notice the silence that comes and the stillness that comes. When you pause, empty, with your mind focused at the center of the center of the center of your being, that tiny pinprick of light and what we would call the central spiritual heart. So breathing and focusing on that center of the center, pausing on the empty, allowing all thoughts, narratives, ideations to just collapse in the silence so that you rest in stillness, in the sacred heart, the divine heart. Beautiful. And notice how it's possible to feel deeply safe, still, and held when you rest in your divine heart. This is the access point to your eternity, your soul, your divinity, who you are beyond the body, beyond the personality, your eternal divine nature. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to begin to open up that little portal, that little pinprick of light, as if it's a stargate, as if it's an aperture of a camera. We're going to open it up with our attention and intention. As you feel the stillness of the silence in the center, notice how it's possible to choose to begin to open up that stargate. Open up that little tiny center of the center of the center. Opening, opening. And as you do, allowing more light to pour through and out into the field around you. Feel every cell in your body saturated, bathed in divine love, light, intelligence. Feel your DNA light up as it encounters and receives this light. feel and allow any areas of the physical form that are struggling or challenged at this time are soothed, nourished, upgraded by this light. This light is you. This light is the one light from which we all come, to which we all return, and with which we are all connected. It is love, it is intelligence, it is divinity flowing through you and around you. And the more still you can become as you rest in the center, the more able you are to receive the blessings, the upgrades, the luminosity of your divine love light, of your true intelligence. And now take a moment to extend this light into the field around you. Perhaps you can start with a few inches around the body. And on the next breath, illuminating the entire room you were in, expanding that peace, that grace, that luminous love light intelligence. Now let it expand further beyond the building or structure you're in, into the greater area. There is no limit to this light. There is no scarcity in this light. This is the ever-flowing divine light of the Great Mother, flowing eternally into the field through you, even indeed as you. And the more you surrender agendas, control, fear, judgment, the more you allow this light to flow through you, the more you begin to allow your life and challenges to self-correct and expand into new possibilities. So take another moment to really drink this in, to allow yourself to receive the grace of the Great Mother that awakens the Christ in you, the remembrance of your unity with this light. And so we give thanks to the light, divine light of love that holds us eternally as we dream this dream and awaken to love's presence. Blessed be. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, and may this carry you through all adversity into the light of new earth.
Thank you, Dawn.
Mm.
I so love being held. Like
Mhm.
whenever that word comes in, like my whole body just relaxes because I feel like we carry so much on our shoulders and so much that when you can just breathe and release that and know that you are loved by God and just that you're a part of everything that is, it's so darn great. Hey, tell us about your upcoming, what's coming up for you and this redirection. Yeah. And the return of the
Mhm.
priestess. Talk some about that.
Yeah, so the Return of the Priestess is kind of just a title that I have because I did those summits that were called that,
Yeah.
and now we're here. So it's the priestess has returned. The divine feminine emissary of the of love, of Mother's love, is here. So but I've been really redirected. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was being called. I wasn't clear. I've been really redirected to bring forth and culminate the body of work that I've been cultivating for many, many years as a priestess, as a divine feminine emissary, as a channeler, and an ascension guide, assisting those sisters and brothers who feel called to awaken in these times. And so that has come together, coalesced as a online training, at least to start, called the Inner Temple. And it's essential priestess training for New Earth. And what it is we go through four gateways, and the first gateway is the awakening heart. This allows us to become immune to frequency interference.
Oof.
And then, yeah, which we know how much there is
Oof.
of that.
Yeah.
And then we go to opening the inner vision in order to maintain our center and steer straight course to ascension, to our ascension timelines. And then we walk through Gateway 3, which are the sacred practices to help us strengthen our resolve for our sovereignty in these times. These next 2 years are crucial for us to maintain our sovereignty. And then the fourth gateway is midwifing New Earth, where we flow with Earth changes and take on more tools and skills based on our unique astrological blueprint. So the Inner Temple it's a group program. It will be open and ongoing, but we begin with our first opening ceremony and the beginning of the first gateway on January 22nd of 2026. And it includes this, group training and support. Community is so key at this time to be with others because many of us are placed in places where we're not very supported in order to anchor light there. So, right. So
Yes.
that connection is so essential. And then getting a clear dialed in blueprint of your soul's unique. What are you here for? How are you uniquely designed to hold the light? What are you uniquely here to clear from your karmic, incarnational story that you're ready to let it go now?
Mm.
So even though it's a group program, each woman who joins is gets a one-on-one astrology session with me because it's essential
Okay.
actually for you to know you're unique as well. So yeah, so the Inner Temple, essential priestess training for New Earth, four gateways over 12 weeks. There's a bunch of other stuff, but anyway, the information page, you'll have that available. And
Yes.
interestingly, just for our brothers who may be listening to this, I would love to hear from you if you are interested in this, because as I walked my husband through the basics of this, he was like, if you took priestess out of that, we could do that with men. I was like, yeah, the brothers, this is not just for women.
Yep.
It's just right now I have been serving women for so long. This is how I developed it. But, if we had interest and we may, if we're guided, but
Yeah.
interest and would give us that feedback to know maybe this has got to be opened to brothers and sisters sooner than I am thinking might be the case.
Well, it feels like using your knowledge and the priestess knowledge. I feel like it's going to come. I'm curious as well.
Yeah.
Yet I feel like just opening the door, the men will follow, because that's what has happened even in my work. It used to be mostly women. Again, this was a while ago, and men started coming in, and they're much more adept or wanting to share their feelings because they've been bottled up for so long. So
Yeah.
I feel you're definitely going to go in that direction. Just like with my class, it may take some time. Yet I love that you and your husband have already talked about it. It sounds like you have a really divine relationship with him.
Yes, it's been a work in progress. We came together. Well, we met when we were teenagers, but then we are each other's second spouse. So we
No
had to go do
way.
our things. And yeah. So we came together when we were still pretty unconscious, and we've both had to do a lot of inner work. And
Wow.
because we have done that,
Well, and
we
that
have a
he's done it.
yeah, he
I mean,
has.
that's incredible.
Yeah. He's very involved with men's work now, and he really helps facilitates men in a larger global community, actually, to begin to heal the stuff that's been buried and suppressed and denied, and awaken to it's more personal development work than the real spiritual stuff,
Yeah.
because a lot of the men, that's what our brothers need a lot right now.
Mm.
Yes, there are some really conscious spiritual brothers who are doing deep spiritual work, but a lot of the guys just out there in the world, they're carrying so much pain
Yeah.
and burden, and the kind of processes that my husband and other men in that community do is extraordinary,
Wow.
extraordinary and foundational, right? It's
Yeah.
shadow work. It's shadow
Yeah.
work.
Well, maybe y'all end up doing the class together. I'll have to mention this to the gentleman that I'm with. When he was not any kind of energy work, like I kind of put out there too. Oh, whoever I connect with, energy work, and he'd never had that done before. So it's been really neat watching the process of him accepting that and going into it. But like when I connect with him, he's been in battles. He has been, I mean, he has fought. He has, I mean, and all the trauma from that coming into this world today, he's carrying it
Yep.
all. So I'm
Yep.
assuming that's most men. Hey, Dawn, so great. Thank you for
Yeah.
getting
Thank
personal on the
you.
show, which to me, that is what makes it so good. So thank you for sharing all of that. And man, your class, I'm sure, is going to go great. And knowing that you've done this for a long time, yeah, really good. So thank you so much for being here today. I'll let you know when the show is live, and everybody
Thank
else,
you.
listeners, watchers, stay tuned next week. It just keeps ascending, right? The show keeps ascending. Everybody on here, we're all ascending. All right. See you later. Say goodbye, Dawn, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you, everyone.
Y'all, find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, True Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So like, subscribe, do it all. See ya.